Hey, come on in and kick back because today I will be paging through and reviewing the second edition Pathfinder Bestiary from Paizo Inc. So come on, pull up a chair and relax, and we will get down to brass tacks. Howdy. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. I also happen to be the Grand Poobah of thegaminggang.com, as well as the host of the live stream Mondays through Fridays at 7 p.m. Central here on YouTube, The Daily Dope. So, welcome aboard. As I mentioned, today I will be paging through and reviewing the second edition Pathfinder Bestiary. This is obviously the first volume of what will probably be many volumes to come, and we're going to dive into it in just a moment. Do want to mention my approach to this is going to be to talk about what I like about the book, maybe if there's something I didn't care for, and then kind of tell you what my overall opinion and who this is going to be for, and kind of piggyback on my earlier review of the second edition Pathfinder core book. Also, have to mention, I am not overly well versed in first edition Pathfinder. So I'm taking the approach of someone with over 40 years of experience with role playing games, both as a game master and as a player. So, other thing I will mention is I am still carrying around this con crud from San Diego Comic-Con. I have not shaken it. So it's still up in my sinuses. My voice isn't my usual voice. And it's kind of down in my chest now. So I apologize. I will probably hack and cough a little bit during this video. So you're probably tuning in because I'm going to be reviewing the second edition Pathfinder Bestiary. As I mentioned, it's from Paizo Inc. It's written by Logan Bonner, Jason Bowman, Stephen Radney McFarlane, and Mark Seifter. This 260-page hardcover. Excuse me. Once again, I have to apologize for coughing. This hardcover does carry an MSRP of $49.99. There is a kind of limited edition deluxe hardcover. It is available. It does carry an MSRP of $69.99. So let's move on over to the other camera because I've got the Bestiary out here. Like I said, 260 pages. So this is a pretty good sized tome. Granted, we're not clocking it at like 630 pages like the core rulebook does, but still, you're getting a pretty good amount of content in here. There are over 400 creatures, monsters, what have you, in this book as well. So let's jump right on in. And first off, we're going to get a bit of an introduction and talking about the breakdown of the stat blocks. It's going to talk about the rarity of the creature, the alignment of the creature, any special abilities, what languages it may speak, if it's intelligent and it communicates. And we jump right on in to the bestiary itself. So flipping on through here, one thing I definitely dug about this is the fact that the artwork throughout is all realistically styled. One of my little issues that I've got with Pathfinder, both first edition as well as the second edition and the core rulebook, is the usage of some of the kind of like anime inspired artwork where the art looks really cartoonish in some ways. Like we have these massive swords that, you know, realistically, there's absolutely no way a character could be swinging a sword of that size for, you know, more than, 30 seconds in a battle. Whereas here, the artwork is all pretty realistic styled. There are, excuse me, a vast variety of different creatures and races in the book as well. So here with most of these, we're going to get about a page. Some we get a little more than a page. Some we get about a half a page. But we are going to get pretty much an introduction about the actual creature itself or monster itself. Talking about, for an example, here's the Banshee. Born from tragedy, the Banshee represents one of the most tragic of undead. A soul so racked by agony and fury over a betrayal in life that in death it lingers on as a great evil. So then we get more detail about the Banshee. So here we see it's an uncommon creature, it's chaotic evil, it's medium sized, and some of the traits that it has. So it's incorporeal, it's a spirit, and it's undead. Then we break down into perception, languages, skills it may have, like bonuses to the various attributes, some other special abilities, and then we get through some of the special attacks that it might have. It can fly in melee, hand-to-hand plus 32, spectral ripple, terrifying touch, wail. And if you saw my review of the core rulebook, one of the new things in the second edition of Pathfinder is the action economy. So each player or creature, opponent, what have you, will have 3 actions available to spend. And depending, some actions will cost more than 1 action to perform. So as an example here, we're seeing the whale would take 2 of the 3 available actions available to the Banshee. And that's how our stat blocks are going to work throughout the entire bestiary. So one thing that the core rulebook did not have is any creatures whatsoever, not even common creatures like we just saw the bear back here. So we see the different kinds of bears as well. Grizzly bear, care bear, cave bear. I started to say Care Bear. Yeah, okay, Jeff. I guess the concrud's not just affecting my lungs, it's affecting my brain. So we got the boggard, brain collector, bugbear. So lots and lots of creatures. Another thing that I really appreciate in this is that we pretty much get an image for every one of these beasties and baddies. That I certainly appreciate, because more and more we're seeing, and I understand. I mean, as far as being a game master, as far as usage, that is a lot of info. That is a big stat block. That's a lot of info to have to know about a lot of different monsters. That's why most game masters will only really kind of delve into the special abilities and things like that of creatures, even wandering monsters, say, that might appear during that game session. Most game masters that I know do not have the wherewithal to be able to memorize everything in this book. Now, I'm sure there are folks out there who can. Don't get me wrong. I personally cannot. So usually what I would do is actually have some notes that I've jotted into whatever I happen to be using as far as my adventure, be it something that I've created myself, or if it's something that I'm using from a pre-published, say, adventure path. I'll probably note down a few different things just so I have those on hand. So, like I said, lots and lots of images throughout. So, like I said, I really appreciate it because we're starting to see a movement to more of a minimalist presentation for information, which I completely understand, as I started to say, because it's very difficult for game masters to keep a lot of information right in front of them at all times. Just like when you're running an adventure. Let's say you're running a pre-published or a published adventure, and it's got like the read aloud text, and it's like paragraphs and paragraphs long. That is not conducive to good role playing. If I wanted to have somebody read me a book, I'd go and have them read me a book. So we are starting to see more of a minimalist approach with some adventures, as well as stat blocks for NPCs as well as for creatures and monsters. That being said, I also like to have all the information right there on hand for me to take a look at, so I can decide, okay, so what do I find is going to be the most important thing about that monster in regards to the adventure I'm running. Another thing, as far as the monsters themselves, there's no longer like a challenge rating. They have a level. So one of the cool things about the second edition of Pathfinder is it's recommended that game masters, when they're creating their own adventures, they take the average level of their party, add 4 and subtract 4, and then use that as kind of the sweet spot for the levels of the creatures and challenges that their players are going to face. We got a lot of info about dragons in here, so I thought that was pretty cool too. So we get red dragons, white dragons, black dragons at different ages as well. Metallic dragons. So dug this. For the most part, these are pretty traditional monsters. There are some that are in here that I am not familiar with. So I can't tell you if these were creatures that were in first edition or not. Like, for an example, the one I was just looking at right here. I am not familiar with that monster in any fantasy role-playing game. So this could be something that is unique to Pathfinder. Whereas drakes, obviously enough, are in plenty of role-playing games. But once again, we get a lot of different kinds of drakes. We get into the drow. So, just kind of flipping on through here. There's lots to choose from. Lots of various different challenging creatures here. Anywhere from 1 to... What was the highest one I thought? I thought I saw like a 17 in here. I know I saw a 12. Here we go. We've got the Ghost Mage. So these numbers here, those are just telling you what the levels are. Just to make things very, very Cloud Giant in 11. There we go. Rune Giant, 16. To make things just a little easier on the Game Master in order to, create their own adventures and populate their adventures with appropriately leveled monsters. It's like you kick out goblins -1, just a regular goblin warrior. Another aspect of second edition Pathfinder I thought was cool was now you can play goblins. It's right in the core rulebook, so you can have goblin player characters. So we got the golem, different kinds of golems as well. So that was another aspect of the Bestiary that I like, is that we've got, just like the core rulebook as far as the character classes, with the various different creatures, we have different subtypes of the creatures as well. And artwork's really nice. I really, really did enjoy the artwork throughout this. And I know there are people out there who are like, I don't need art in my role-playing game books. I prefer not to have artwork. And I say it all the time. I prefer to have some artwork in my books. Now, I'm not talking about where I want half the book artwork, because if that was the case, then I'd be looking to buy an art book, not a game book. But I find artwork to get my juices flowing. It inspires me as a game master. But as you can see, this is just jam-packed with different creatures. One thing that I have noticed a lot of times with various different bestiaries that have come out from other fantasy role-playing game systems and companies is that you might get a 150-page book and it's got 90 creatures in it. or maybe it's got 75 creatures in it. Here you've got 300 and oh, wait a second, did I say this was 260 pages earlier? I think I did. I meant to say it's 360. Yeah, it is 360. Yeah, for some reason I think I said it was 260. It's 360 pages. Anyway, but sometimes the bestiaries, and you gotta, if you're gonna do a fantasy role-playing game, one of the first releases you have to come out with has got to be a bestiary. I can't believe Lamentations of the Flame Princess does not have really an official bestiary. That, to me, that's insane. Now, there are some third-party ones out there, but still, I'm kind of like, seriously? Really? So, you are definitely getting your money's worth as far as the number of creatures, both common through fantasy role-playing games, as well as just everyday creatures, as well as those that to me look like they are specifically unique to Pathfinder itself. So for example, like skeletons. Now all of a sudden we get all these different skeletal creatures, as opposed to most role-playing games would be like, okay, here you go, skeleton. And that's all you would get. Not a skeletal champion or skeletal giant or skeletal Hulk. All right, so there we go. Almost wrapping up here. We got the different kinds of spiders. Like a Tengu. For some reason that rings a bell, but I don't remember those in D&D. Maybe I'm wrong. Then we have like creating a vampire. There's also rules as far as kind of making some of these creatures weaker or stronger depending on your group. And one of the reasons why I think it's kind of cool that we've got kind of that window for the different levels of challenges for your party, both 4 over and 4 below, is that you're able to keep utilizing some of the cool monsters for much longer. Whereas, traditionally you'd be sitting there with, say, goblins, right? Well, once your characters are 2nd, 3rd level characters, goblins are like, man, we can mow through these guys left and right. Whereas in 2nd edition, you can kind of get more mileage out of them than you could before. So, talking about all the different abilities, traits, different new spells. Then we get into creatures by level. And I think we had creatures by type, which was already back here, right? Yep, creatures by type. And that is what we get in the 2nd edition Pathfinder Bestiary, which is available as of today, August 1st. Well, I should be honest. It's available as of August 1st. Today really isn't August 1st. I am recording this a couple of days before release because on August 1st, I will be at Gen Con. So, what do I think of the 2nd edition Pathfinder Bestiary? I like it. I like it a lot. As I mentioned before, if you're going to have a fantasy role-playing game, one of the first releases after your core book or to coincide with your core book needs to be a bestiary. There are over 400 creatures in here, 360 pages. So I believe you get quite a bit of value. One of the things that does kind of throw me a little bit is the stat blocks. There's a lot of info in there. And if you've got 20 different creatures that are going to be taking part in your like adventure path, or possibly, you're playing a long game session, like myself. When I'm running stuff for Elliot or my nephew Cameron and his girlfriend and friends, we don't play for 4 hours. We usually play for about 8 hours. So it would be possible that there could be like a dozen or more different kinds of creatures or cultures that the players are going to run across. It makes it a little difficult to keep, excuse me, all that information up in your noggin. And I'm not one of these guys who likes to go flipping back and forth through rule books as I'm running a game. I'd rather just wing it at the table, and if I have to, kind of hand wave something away. So that is like the only real little ding that I've got with the second edition Pathfinder Bestiary is there's a lot of info in those stat blocks. That being said, I like to have a lot of info about the different creatures and monsters and what they do, how they might react, what kind of tactics they might utilize against characters. To me, I enjoy having that because I might not specifically utilize exactly what it says in the book, but I might modify that a little bit and kind of run with that idea as far as what I might do with the monsters when my players encounter them. So, like the artwork, I think there's a lot of value, lots and lots of monsters in here. Like I said, it's not unusual to see a bestiary of, say, 150 pages only have like 75 monsters in it, whereas this is 360 and there are over 400. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, I definitely give the Pathfinder Bestiary a very, very solid, just like the core rulebook, 9.5 out of 10. Really, really impressed so far with the 2 releases for the second edition of Pathfinder that I have seen so far. And I'm the first to admit, I was never into first edition Pathfinder because to me, it was just way too much crunch that I'm willing to deal with at this point in my life when I'm running a role-playing game. But I like the streamlined kind of like modifications of second edition. I really like what Paizo has done to this point. So there you have it for this time out. Don't forget, catch me live here on YouTube with the Daily Dope, Monday through Fridays at 7 p.m. Central. And as I like to say, when you're not watching videos here on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. By now you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. If you like the video, please give it a quick thumbs up. If you dig the channel, check out some of the videos on the channel and you like it, please subscribe. And don't forget, ring that little bell because not only will that notify you when a video like this one is uploaded, it'll also tell you when the Daily Dope goes live. So, I am off to cover Gen Con. I will be back with the live show on August 6th. So, until then, everyone take care. I will see you soon. If you're ready for some more fun and you'd like to check out the latest episode of the Daily Dope, my live Monday through Friday show that airs at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube, click right here. And if you'd like to roll the dice and push your luck and see a randomly selected video from the channel, click right here. You pays your money, you takes your chances. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and thank you for watching.